Good evening, savages. Welcome to the weigh-in, the MMA Latest News.com podcast. This is the third one we've done. Dorian has not been seen, so I'm guessing he's had a successful night out last night in New Zealand. He's normally on bright and early on what's normally a Saturday morning for them over there, and he's not been seen, so we can only assume he's found love. Joining me today on the New Look weigh-in, well, in fact, it's not a New Look weigh-in, is it? No, because I wrote notes before, and we had to change the plan. So it's the Old Look weigh-in. On Hangouts, we've got Casey, who's going for the first time, Cody, who's back with third for his hat-trick. We've got Jordan making his debut, and also John, who is the pitcher that does not move. We might be joined by Dorian later, we might be joined by Ethan, see if we can get more than one word in like he got last week, and also Scott wants to get in the mix as well, and he said he was going to be late, so he might just pop up. We'll have to see. Truly Worldwide is our burgeoning little website. Tonight's Hangout doesn't really have much else to discuss apart from the three main events of the weekend. We've got UFC 180 in Brazil. We've got a World Series of Fighting with 3 title fights, including the women's MMA one. And we've also got Bellator 131 with a fight that belongs in about 2002 as the main event. In fact, you know what? That's probably been a little unfair, isn't it? More like 2007, I think. Casey, let's kick us off, mate, with going straight into breakdown of the UFC 180. It's the biggest event this weekend, far. Let's go straight into the picks. What are you thinking?
My picks, where do we want to start?
Wherever you feel like, mate.
Oh, from the beginning. Oh, the fights that I mainly have opinions on. Well, I mean, the women's MMA fight, Leslie Smith versus Jessica, the only other women's MMA fight this weekend. I don't really know what to think about this fight because Leslie Smith just knocked out one of the Four Horsemen in a very ugly fight. I'm sure you guys all saw, where she was like plus 300, a 3-to-1 underdog. But she still looked like not horrible, but just like really violently ugly in that fight. I don't know what it is. And Jessamine Duke just has kind of a very hittable style, but I think I had Jessica by like a split decision just for being more versatile. That's what I'm picking right now, just because I feel like she's not the punching bag that Jessamine Duke's going to be. Other than that, the rest of them are going to be Ultimate Fighter guys that I don't really have picks for until you get to Heatherly and Augusto Montano. Heatherly, I believe, is a wrestler. I forgot who he last fought, but I thought he had one fight in the UFC.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, he fought Ben Saunders.
He came up a weight class and fought Ben, but he was a decent wrestler. He actually got Ben down twice, but then he got that one time omoplata, right?
Yeah, I think that's what he lost with. Omoplata.
Yeah, he got hit with that. But I mean, he is a good wrestler. He was fighting up, and I believe he's moved back down for this weight class for this fight against Montano. But I saw Montano. He had good boxing, and his only loss was to Sam Alvey. I'm going to lean on Heatherly by decision just because I think if he can weather the storm, and Ben Saunders is more of a storm than this guy I think is. I don't think he's going to hit him with the omoplata again. So I'm leaning towards Heatherly in that fight. And then the Hector Urbina versus Edgar Garcia, definitely leaning Hector Urbina. He was on the last Ultimate Fighter, I believe, right? Do you know what I'm talking about? The last
He's one of the guys that I have no idea about.
Yeah, Urbina was on the last season Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, the last American version, not the Mexican one. Yeah, and he looked really good. He's got really good wrestling. Really good wrestling. He wrestled in college. I forgot where he wrestled, but Frankie Edgar was talking him up real high, and a couple others were talking real high. His real weakness was he was fighting up a weight class, again, like every guy in the Ultimate Fighter is, and his striking seemed a bit weak. But it's probably changed a lot. And the other guy I've watched a decent bit. He's a good boxer, but I just think that he's going to get taken down. Like every wrestler in that house that fought him got taken down at least once by him, I believe. So I'm strongly leaning on Urbina. And then the last two, I've got Dennis Bermudez with the upset because Lamas, I thought, lost his last fight. I was there live. I thought I was very surprised when he won the decision. That's my opinion, I mean, obviously. But I just think that Dennis Bermudez is going to be able to put on so much more pressure than Hakron Diaz was, and he's got way better striking than Hakron Diaz. So I'm leaning for the upset there. And Ellenberger, I think, is just going to send Gastelum to lightweight. I just think he's going to be too small. Maybe Gastelum surprises us. but he just looks a little small. I think he's finally going to commit to lightweight. And then I'm picking, just betting-wise, Hunt, even though I think Werdum's going to win. The odds are stupid. Those are my picks.
Does anyone have anything that they want to jump in immediately on that? Or does anyone want to just get straight
I wanted to just hop in and talk about the Ricardo Lamas and the Dennis Bermudez fight real quick, just to start. Dennis Bermudez, I got him, when it comes to betting, I got him at -185. And yeah, like, you guys know what that means, right? Like,
yeah, he's the favorite now. He's
the favorite.
The last time I looked was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, when I was looking at odds, and he was like plus 220.
Yeah, so that means that a lot of money came in on him.
Yeah, a lot of money's come in. That's huge. He's moved 200 points at least.
I didn't check it back then. I have no idea. I wait until closer to fight time before I make my bets. But I kind of. I agree with the odds. I do think that Dennis Bermudez is going to win. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Ricardo Lamas did take the fight. He's even though he lost his last fight. I mean, sorry, not his last fight. When he went up against Jose Aldo, and a lot of people, when reviewing that fight, they say that he just didn't show up. But I don't think that that really reflects on him. I just think Aldo's just that good, and that's just what he did to him that night. But I like Bermudez, as you said, the person before me said, the pressure that he brings is really just unmatched, and I really don't see where Lamas is better than Bermudez. Like maybe top control wrestling, but that being said, Dennis is he's not impossible to take down, but he's a stud when it comes to wrestling. So I just don't see a situation where Ricardo Lamas is going to be able to get into that position.
Seeing as though we're talking about Bermudez and Lamas, is everybody in agreement here that we think ranked number 7, the slight underdog on rankings at least? I'm going Bermudez. Is everyone in agreement on that? Is everyone going Bermudez? Is anyone picking Lamas?
Well, I'm not picking Lamas. Like, my money is on Bermudez, but if he wins, like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, he has all the tools, even though he's not as good. Yeah, and even though, in my opinion, I don't think he's as good as Bermudez, if he were to somehow find a way to win, I would not be surprised at all.
No, I think Bermudez has got a little bit more of an advantage in wrestling, especially with the takedowns, and I think he's got a slightly better work rate. And I think in a fight like this, where everything else is so even, I'm going to go with the guy who works hardest. I think that's what's going to happen. I have no idea how this is going to end. If it's going to finish, if it's going to submission, if it's going to be a KO. It could go down to a decision for all I know. So I just see Bermudez taking this. He's on a right tear at the moment, and I think he legitimately belongs in the top 5 in that division.
I agree, and Bermudez, if you watch his last 3 fights, he has improved dramatically from each last fight to the next. So I think we're going to see a very sharp version of Dennis Bermudez come fight night.
This has got the potential to be fight of the night, or this could be one where they completely cancel each other out. What do you reckon?
I think it'll be a great fight. Yeah, I think Bermudez. I honestly think he's too much standing up. I think his striking has improved drastically, and like you all have said before, I think he does have a wrestling advantage too. So I could see it being a very competitive fight, but I could also see Bermudez grinding out a pretty handy decision.
Mm-hmm. Casey, what you saying, brother? Cody, what you saying, brother? Even Cody disappeared.
Are we experiencing some technical difficulties here?
I believe we are. Cody, you there?
I'm here. Was that just me or was that everyone?
No, I can't see him either. He's gone. I can see you now. Speak, boy.
Hello. Am I here?
Yeah, go on.
Can you hear me?
Where you stand on that, mate? On Bermudez Lamas.
I got Bermudez. He's I think John put it very well. He's been dramatically improving in every fight. He's a powerhouse of a wrestler and just insanely strong. He has his Lamas, of course, but Lamas is kind of on the backside. Bermudez is on his way up. He's got the momentum on his side. He looked incredible against Guida, and but if they do end up canceling each other out, like you're saying, it ain't gonna be a boring fight. I've never seen Bermudez in a boring fight, so it'll be exciting either way.
Fair enough, fair enough. I'll stay with you on this one, Cody, while we're still here. Let's assume it goes Bermudez's way, like we all assume it's going to. Where next?
When?
Where next for Bermudez?
Oh, where next? Oh, okay.
It would be really hard not to give him a title shot with a solid win.
Do you think he'll go?
I mean, yeah, it depends on it depends on the performance. But they're really pushing Conor McGregor. You know, it depends on Conor's performance in Boston, Dennis's performance here tomorrow night in Mexico. Which either one looks better in their performances, or if they both look great, they might match them up against each other. I don't know. Conor, if Conor's going to face any grappler at near the top, I think he best fits Bermudez because Bermudez tends to get dropped fairly easily and multiple times throughout his fights. So Conor might be able to take advantage of that. I don't know. They might put him up against Conor is my answer.
But even if it is, let's say it's a really grindy sort of fight and he gets a split decision, even if it is that sort of outcome, he can just go, not to the back of the line, but maybe they'll give it to Conor if he beats Seaver, and then next in line would be Bermudez, maybe a situation sort of like that.
Right.
For me, it still should be Frankie Edgar or Swanson whoever wins.
Oh, yeah, true.
But I think we all know that they're lining it up for Conor just because of the popularity he's gained recently.
Yeah, I think we were forgetting them a little bit.
I was forgetting that if Edgar wins against Swanson, obviously if Swanson wins, then he's by far and away #1 contender. I mean, he deserved a title shot multiple fights ago. So if he beats Frankie Edgar, definitely he's next in line. But if Edgar beats him, Edgar's only on would be only one on a 2-fight win streak or a 3-fight win streak. 3-fight win streak, and it would be his best opponent in this streak of wins that he has. And so he might need one more to solidify himself, considering the range of other contenders that are out there, such as Conor and what would be Bermudez. So they might match him up against Bermudez while giving Swanson the shot, and then maybe Conor afterwards. I don't know. It's kind of tough to speculate.
Yeah,
right
I think Swanson should get it if he wins, definitely. Like Swanson, I don't even like Swanson that much. He needs to get it.
Do you think it's more about the streak, or if Edgar does manage to pull one out against Swanson, do you think that the sheer fact he beat Swanson means that he deserves a shot?
I can see that too. I mean, I think Swanson's going to get destroyed, but I mean, if Swanson pulls it off, he deserves it more than anyone. He's definitely the guy that deserves it.
Who's the hardest fight in there? Well, I think we sort of touched on it, I think, last week a little bit, but for Conor McGregor, who's clearly being pumped up by the UFC to be the next in line, to get this next title shot, probably somewhere in Ireland where they can sell it out and make a big deal about it.
Yeah.
Let's assume he takes the title from Aldo, which is a massive assumption. What's the nightmare next fight? I think we touched on it a little bit last week. So Mendes would be a nightmare for him. Yeah.
Mendes.
Anybody else there that anyone thinks immediately?
I mean, I wouldn't even go as far as Mendes, even though that would be the fight that's made. How about a guy like Nick Lentz? You know what I mean? He has the style. If he can get a hold of McGregor, you honestly okay. It's
no, I think
you honestly think that Nick Lentz wouldn't in a 15-minute fight, you don't think Nick Lentz would get a hold of McGregor and drag him down and lay on him? And I
do, but I'm saying the most nightmarish. I think that Mendes would. I think he would finish McGregor in like a minute. I swear.
Absolutely, yeah. Mendes would smash him.
That's the nightmare for your PR team right there.
In a minute. That's a shout and a half. That is.
I think his. I think that Mendes is so underrated. The most competitive fight Aldo's ever had happened 2 weeks. What was it? 2 weeks ago. That was the most competitive fight he's had since he got beat 8-9 years ago. No one can deny that, other than like him fading in the last round or two against some people. But after dominating, getting 10-8 rounds, Who's seen someone drop out of that much? I don't think Conor. I mean, maybe he could knock him out, but I think Aldo would just go grappler on him and just show him that world-class jiu-jitsu that we've seen from Aldo in the past. I think people underrate Aldo's jiu-jitsu, and Mendez is the only one with the pedigree to go down there. Even though with the torn ACL, Conor did look good against Holloway, who looked good, but is he the caliber of a guy like Mendez? No.
Absolutely
Even close.
not.
I love Holloway. I've followed him since day one, but like that is his biggest grappling showing, which is a double leg with a torn, I think, MCL or ACL. And while impressive, you aren't going to do that to a Mendez. Mendez is going to literally jump over you and then take your back. The only man to do 2 front flips and take someone's back. Just FYI.
I feel like you're talking about Aldo and Mendez there. I'm not really sure what you're talking about. And Lentz mixed in the whole scenario.
Well, he was bringing in Lentz. We agree he would win, or I think he would probably win with a boring, just hold you down, get you. I think Mendez would dominate.
I thought you had said that Lentz would smash him under a minute. Okay, now saying.
No, that's Mendez.
Okay, that makes more sense.
The point I was trying to make is you guys are, not you guys, sorry, just you were trying to make the point of the number 2 featherweight in the world would be a nightmarish match for Conor McGregor. And the point I was trying to make is you don't have to look that far to the champion for a nightmarish matchup. You can find it in the top 15 for Conor.
I agree.
Yeah, I think Lentz would be his worst matchups.
Any wrestler with a high caliber pedigree that can take a punch is going to be a bad style for him.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Can't take a punch because Bermudez is a heck of a wrestler, but he can't take a punch off the wall.
Bermudez wouldn't be. He could get KO'd. I totally. But Mendez can take a punch. We saw that. He took full blown power level 9,000 Aldo and came back.
Do you think the UFC need to? And that's the wrong approach. Do you think if he does take the title, or even to be considered legitimate to take a shot at the title, he needs to prove himself against one of these wrestlers first?
Yeah.
Or do you think the UFC is not bothered about that and he makes more money by being given? I'm not saying easy fights because there's no easy fights in that top 10 of that.
I don't think the UFC needs him to do that. I think the UFC is very happy having him go out and crush the can that is Dennis Seaver and then give him a title shot. But I think for McGregor, I think he's a can. I like Seaver.
I think he's just not a top 5 guy. He's a top 15. That's where he sits, in the top 15 to top 10.
Sure. That's true. But I think it's a mismatch putting him in there against McGregor.
I just reserve cans for like top 100 guys, maybe, where you see that's what I'm saying.
All right, yeah, very true. But I think, I don't think the UFC needs McGregor to actually go out there and beat someone that I think people know would be a tough matchup, a Nick Lentz or a high caliber wrestler like that, because they'll still be able to market him. But I think the pundits and the people who know the fight game are gonna realize that McGregor hasn't beat a high caliber wrestler like this yet.
What if he does? What if he's never displayed any of this grappling or wrestling because he's never needed to, because his hands are so good, and he's got to where he's got based on his hands because he's never required it? He actually has used his wrestling a little bit in Cage Warriors.
Yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched all those fights over there that I could find. Yeah,
so
he has.
He's not a complete novice, and he trains with Gunnar Nelson, who's a serious grappler.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I agree he's better than people give him credit for, but I think that people are misunderstanding how good those top 3 guys are, including Mendez, Nato, how good that jiu-jitsu is and how good that wrestling is, and Conor hasn't shown anything on that level.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah, he could come out of nowhere, but I also think Gunnar Nelson, while his jiu-jitsu is legit, very elite, he's going to lightweight, and I called his loss against Rick Story. He wasn't going to be able to get him down. His wrestling isn't good enough. It's over there. They need more wrestlers over there. That's a fact. Gunnar, while has very good wrestling for a Icelandic fighter over there, that's amazing how good he is. They still need to either move over here or bring more elite wrestlers over there, because that's sort of the gap's going to show, and it showed against Rick Story, who's not fighting for a title anytime soon.
It's just a culture thing, isn't it? It's something that's very popular in high schools in North America, and is literally alien to people in Europe.
Oh yeah.
Unless you're an Iranian or an immigrant or some
You gotta go to Eastern Europe. You gotta go to Eastern Europe. You're completely right. It's a culture thing. There's nothing wrong with that. You guys have elite boxers. The striking is more prevalent over here. Jiu-jitsu's blowing up like crazy.
I've been to the GB training camp. It's based in Manchester, where I am, and it's basically stacked with Iranians. It's just it's like going to Iran, which is the British, where the British Olympic wrestling team wrestles.
Yeah, Kamal Shalarus, I used to wrestle with him, and he lived in England for a long time.
Yeah, it's just full of Iranians with dodgy looking ears.
Yeah, he won 7th for y'all in the Olympics. He got to 7th place. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
he lives in Boston now.
So anyway, let's get a little bit back on track. We've gone bananas there on Bermuda and Lamas.
That was fun, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was a good little chat. So
is it unanimous on Bermuda's then?
I think so.
What are we unanimous on?
Yeah, Bermuda takes this somehow against Lamas.
I think as long as he doesn't get dropped, he wins.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, that's one we're all unanimous on.
Finally. Good job, guys.
I'm going to skip straight to the main event.
Actually, if we could just backtrack to the co-main, I'd like to just talk about that real quick.
Go on then.
Okay, yeah, just real quick, Jake Ellenberger, it looks like he's plus 155. Yeah, he's plus 155, and other than BJ Penn, I think that Jake Ellenberger is the best round one fighter ever, like, honestly, and that's contested between him and BJ Penn. They're both first-round fighters. They're both incredible during the first round. I'd like Jake Ellenberger to win this fight, actually. I think even though Kelvin has looked good in his last 3 fights, I do think he lost to Rick Story. I don't think that he deserved to get that win. It was a very close fight, but I do think Rick Story won. I don't think Jake Ellenberger is getting the respect that he deserves because of his last 2 performances. Like, he looked really tentative in both those fights. It looked like he just couldn't get off. And I think with Kelvin, he's going to be able to get off. And I like him to stop him in the first round.
Ooh.
I really do.
I can see it. I can also see Kelvin weathering the storm and losing. I think Kelvin's going to lose. I think he's going to lose. I don't know if Jake can KO him because I feel like he's way too tentative. Like, maybe this changes. But Kelvin has power. Lots of power. For a tiny, compact man.
Yeah, but he's got them traps. He's got them traps like he does shoulder shrugs all day long, baby.
Them traps, though.
I think that Ellenberger he struggles with. I don't know if it's a struggle, but he's got when someone knows they can take his head off. He completely changes his strategy, and I think Kelvin can.
He has problems when the people that he is facing are more technical than he is when it comes to striking, and I don't think Kelvin is. I don't think even though Jake Ellenberger likes to just swing hams and throw haymakers, I don't think Kelvin is a superior striker technically, if you know what I mean. And plus, Jake moved his camp. He's training with Ronda Rousey's trainer, and they're working a lot on boxing. And so, I mean, even though you may not like him as a person, the fighters that have went and trained with him have all said they're better technically afterwards. So just keep that in mind.
No, I think he can. Go.
I think Ellenberger's taking this. I think Gastelum's record hides a lot, really. I think 10-0. It's 10-0 with a little bit of a given on there. Ellenberger's got a lot of experience.
Yeah, and plus there's two fights on his record that could have went the other way. You know, like the Uriah Hall was a split decision, and the Rick Story fight was a split decision, and they're both close fights. It's not like these are crazy judges' calls. You know what I mean? Like,
those were close fights.
Yeah, so they could have went the other way. So he could very well be 7-2 right now.
Is anyone picking Gastelum on this one?
No, I am. Yeah. Oh, I am taking Gastelum, yeah. And it's one that I flip-flopped on it quite a bit, actually. I went back and forth on this one because I could see it going either way. But Ellenberger, kind of like somebody was saying earlier, he's looked very, very, very hesitant in his last couple fights. And I agree that Gastelum is not technically a better striker in any capacity, but he does have a lot of power. And 2 of Jake's last 3 losses have come by TKO. He got he got stopped by Lawler, and going back, I think 4 or 5 fights, he got stopped by Campman too. So, yeah. So I don't know. I have a feeling. I don't know that it'll be. I don't think Gastelum will TKO him, but I think Gastelum will do enough to get the win. He seems to have the edge in these close fights. He knows how to score points in the judges' eyes, and I think Gastelum will sneak it out.
He doesn't break. That's a big deal. Gastelum may win close fights, but he doesn't mentally break. If he gets beaten, it's going to be a domination.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I mean, that's just my opinion. And Kellenberger's had some really close fights himself. He's got lots of splits on his record. Lots.
Yeah.
Like several. So, I mean, it's not like he dominates his way all the time. He is incredibly experienced, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention before we move on, like, if you want to go back in time a few years, like, I would suggest anybody watch his fight with Carlos Condit. I think it was back in 2009. Like, he laid an ass whooping on Carlos Condit that first round. That should have been a 10-8 round, but with the judging, it's not like that.
Yeah, we can get a whole podcast on how terrible our judging system is.
I'm sure they're in the pipeline. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
So we're all but Jordan going for Ellenberger in this one.
Yeah, I'd lean Ellenberger. I'd say stay away from it if you're betting, or go Ellenberger. That's a fight that too many weird things can happen with the lack of chins or silliness.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about that main event then. It's the one we want, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Verdum versus Hunt. Hunt made weight. Is it like a 33-pound? Is it? I can't remember. I haven't got the thing in his hand.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Difference between the two of them. That's gonna. I was gonna say that's gonna take its toll. I think as the fight gets into the later rounds. But if Hunt's coming away with the belt, he ain't getting to the later rounds.
Yeah.
It's a round 1 win for Hunt, or it's a Verdum win by probably decision. I think.
I can see him subbing him. I can see him if he gets tired. I can see him easily subbing Hunt. Hunt's gotten way better, but I mean, he's Verdum. This dude flying armbar Vinny Magalhaes.
30 pounds at this altitude is going to be tough, I think, as well.
Yeah, and Verdum had a full month in Mexico training, and that's going to be huge. So, I mean, if he can stay away, like you said, from the first round knockout, then I think Verdum does it by submission or decision.
Yeah, I think as it gets to the later stages, there's every chance that Hunt's going to look for a way out and offer up a neck or an arm or something along those lines. Because I think he's going to gas hard. If he does end up going into the championship rounds, I think he's going to be all sorts of trouble. But I think he'll do really well to even get to him, in all honesty.
Isn't Mexico City high elevation in general?
I think this might be the highest fight that they've had.
Extraordinarily high elevation.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought Colorado with Ben Henderson, his one title fight in Colorado was the highest elevation.
I could be wrong, but I think
this would be
I think Colorado's higher.
You what, Cody?
I'm pretty sure Colorado's higher.
Okay, still these are because Hunt fought on that versus Chris, whatever the blonde-haired heavyweight that was Brock Lesnar's training partner and knocked him out in the second round with the uppercut. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I remember Hunt saying in the interview
fast.
that Colorado was worse.
Yeah, this will still be pretty bad, I think. So it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think everyone's in agreement on this one as well. I mean, it's going to be a Hunt first round, or it's going to be a Verdum decision or a late stoppage. Anyone think otherwise?
I think Hunt could catch him in like the second or third round or something along those lines. But yeah, all the cards seem stacked against Hunt. To be honest, I mean the weight cut, the short notice, the environment, like the heat, the elevation that you're talking about. Also, this problems that he seemed to have with his kids at the moment or something along those lines. I mean, everything seems to be stacked against him right now, and unfortunately, Verdum's not a great matchup against him either.
No. Should we go?
Just to clear something up, Mexico City is higher elevation by quite a bit, actually.
Is
it?
Yeah, Mexico City is. I'm going to use feet. Sorry, Steven. It's 7,382 feet altitude, and Denver is right at 5,680 something.
Okay.
Yeah, get your back straight, Steve.
I was right.
Right.
I remember.
So go on, then. Let's put it on the line. What are you saying? We all think it's going to be a first round stoppage or Verdum. Let's go one by one. What do you think will actually happen then? Casey.
I'm thinking Verdum third or fourth round submission or TKO if he gets like a mount. I think he weathers it. And gets to. I think he just does it. I thought I was going to pick him to beat Kane. So I'll take it.
Wow, that's a shout.
Yeah.
I got Verdum armbar, second round.
I'm not seeing a good head.
You got stubby arms. Things getting cracked.
John.
Hunt has a good 7 minutes, and then after that, it's all downhill. Look for Verdum to either stop him with strikes or submit him with a choke in the second round.
Yeah, no, I think there's no one really veering off this line, is there? Go on, John.
I mean, my heart, I'm hoping for a Hunt knockout round one, but I think my better senses will prevail. I think Hunt can last to the third round, but I think somewhere or the other the fight gets to the ground. Either Verdum drops him or Hunt just is, like you were saying, Stevens, looking for a way out. I think Verdum subs him round 3.
I'm just going to be different to you all, and I'm going to say Hunt blasts his face off in the first round.
First 30 seconds.
I'm not saying I necessarily believe this. I'm just going to pick it just because everyone else has picked something else. But yeah, I think the longer this fight goes on, if I'm Verdum, I'm going to just look to clinch, and I'm just going to look to press him up against the cage, get my head into his face, and I'm just going to look to hold him there till the referee stops us, and then I'm going to look to push him back up against the cage again, and I'm just going to keep doing that until he blows out, and then I'm going to take him down, and I'm going to rip an arm off. And I think Verdum's a sensible guy. I think he's an intelligent guy, and I think that's what he's going to do. He's going to keep his hands up. He's not going to move them hands from up round his head, and he's just going to get in close, clinch him, and just minimise all risk until inevitably gasses out, which I think we all know is probably going to be pretty soon into the second round.
Yeah.
So that, I think, basically wraps up the main section of UFC 180 picks. John, you said you wanted to talk about this week's Bellator.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, not basically, but the first fight worth mentioning, I think, is actually, if you look at this, the main card in this is actually a really, really good main card. I mean, if you were to flip around the Tito Ortiz and the Michael Chandler fight, replace the co-main with the main and have it like that, this would be a very, very stellar, well put together card. This is a tremendous main card, and it kicks off with Mike Richmond versus Nam Phan. I actually have not a lot of money, but I have a bunch of parlays, and they all ride around Mike Richmond. I like him to win, but that's not because he's such a great fighter. I'm more or less betting against Nam Phan and the position that Bellator has taken when they've signed ex-UFC fighters. More often than not, they're brought in and they lose. They lose their first fight. I mean,
Nam Phan hasn't looked good.
Yeah, when's the last time he looked good? On the Ultimate Fighter when he body shotted Cody McKenzie? That's.
It was Cole Miller. It was his dominating. I thought the reason that was a split blew my mind that he won by a split. I thought he completely made Cole Miller look a level below him. But that was just my opinion. I feel like he boxed the shit out of him, and then he went on that streak of getting destroyed. But yeah, that was the last time he was good.
A fun fact, too, from what I understand, Nam Phan actually leads the UFCs in the most 10-8 rounds.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
Not in his favor, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, just useless trivia there. But yeah, I like Mike Richmond to win, and I thought I got him at -400 for my parlays. I like that. This is as close as a gimme as really that you can get. Yeah, as you said, Nam Phan hasn't looked good in forever. He's really hittable, and even though he does have good hands, I mean, his head movement just isn't there, and I think Mike Richmond's going to put it on him.
Yeah, Mike Richmond is a stellar striker that's underrated. I was so surprised when he beat Akop Stepanyan, if anyone knows who that is.
Mm-hmm.
The Russian striker. That dude is unbelievably explosive. He might be one of the most explosive guys under 150 pounds. It is insane. And he knocked him out, which I thought was an early stoppage, but he still put him on his ass, which was insane. Insane that Mike Richmond he's got some power. And I have a feeling he'll destroy him.
Yeah, Richmond's last time out, he had a pretty awesome highlight reel KO over Ed West. If you haven't seen that, check that out. Yeah, that was awesome. So
dominating when I knew he was going to lose to Goiti Yamauchi. That dude is, completely unrelated, future star. Just saying that. Completely. He's
and it was at 145, and he's shown that he can make 135. So he was obviously fighting outside of his weight category, and that's okay. Yeah.
Yamauchi's the next Machida kind of mixed Japanese Brazilian. It's badass. He's a badass. Sorry, completely unrelated.
Yeah, so I guess the next one is the Melvin Manhoef versus Joe Schilling. This is, I mean, this doesn't do anything for the division. It's there for just a spectacle. They're both incredible strikers. I mean, the line on this fight too. I mean, it's really really close. I think it's almost even. Let me just check real quick. Yeah, so Melvin Manhoef is a slight favorite at -145, and Joe Schilling is an underdog at 115. So it's, yeah, this is like a pick'em fight. You know what I mean? It's going to be a good fight to watch, but to analyze and break it down, I don't think that a lot of people that are wagering money on this fight.
No.
Really? I have a very different
Manhoef
opinion.
missed weight on the weigh-in as well by
really?
4 pounds.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if they've announced whether it's still going to be a title fight or if it's going to now just be, whatever.
Oh, are you talking about the
Melvin
Gillard?
Gillard.
Oh, fucking hell.
This is Melvin Manhoef.
Yeah, I know. I just got a text saying Melvin missed weight.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Damn, they both missed weight. Fuck. Wait, aren't they fighting tonight? Isn't Bellator tonight?
No, Bellator's tomorrow.
November 15th,
Usually
yeah.
it's Fridays. Usually it's Fridays. My bad.
Yeah, I don't think did Melvin. I don't think Manhoef missed weight.
I think you're confused with Gillard.
Gillard,
I am.
Gillard missed weight.
I just had the text literally says Melvin missed weight by 4 pounds.
That could be confusing.
Yeah, well, I just assumed. I didn't check.
I think this is. I agree. Actually, I would not go anywhere near this fight with money.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, these guys are both very very talented strikers, and I know Manhoef's chin has been a little suspect. I just saw he got knocked out last month in a kickboxing match. I don't remember what promotion it was in, but it was a brutal knockout. So I guess I'm leaning towards Schilling, but I mean this fight will probably end in the first round, one way or the other.
I have to come out and be the difference here. I think this is a complete mismatch. I think Joe Schilling's going to die, maybe. I think this is going to be brutal. I know Joe Schilling's elite kickboxer, but I think Manhoef can just take him down. Manhoef has good wrestling. He stopped Kennedy twice with 2 of his takedowns before he got submitted, but he stopped several takedowns from arguably one of the better wrestlers at 185 pounds in the UFC. He stopped him, and he can get you down. I think if he wants a win, he can just take Joe Schilling down. And I know Joe Schilling's got decent jiu-jitsu, but I mean, this is Manhoef. He's a fucking monster. He can, if he gets on top of you, his ground and pound is insane. I think that if he does that, I think if he gets hurt at all, he's gonna do it. I think he knows it's smart. I don't think he wants to just knockout to knockout. He's a warrior, but I think he recognizes the chance here. He can really. It's an American stage. It's gonna be a big fight. I think if he thinks he's getting rocked, he's going to do it. And even in the striking, I think the power he possesses, with those little gloves, I think he only needs one punch. I don't think Joe Schilling can one punch him the same way. I don't think at all. He'd have to build it up a little bit.
I can't even find that text, mate, to prove myself right or wrong. Just scrolling through.
The Bellator weigh-ins aren't even live right now, so I don't know. I can't find them online. But yeah, I'm just saying, I think Manhoef, if you're going to bet, I would bet it on Man. Joe Schilling has 3 MMA fights, guys. He's got 3.
Yeah.
He's a better technical striker, but he's also weaker in that overall power, and he's got less experience. And I don't know. I'm just going to say that I think the line's actually really good if you want to make some money on Manhoef. If he doesn't go completely Manhoef, straight up slap in the face wearing a kilt, you know what I'm talking about? If he doesn't go if he goes just a step above that, he should just destroy him. I mean, I don't know. I'll leave that alone. I think this is a mismatch. I don't know why he's taking this fight. I don't know why. Interesting, though. Money talks. Yeah. What's the next fight?
All right, to give me for King Mo.
Oh, I feel bad.
Yeah, that's
Joe Vampetto's such a good guy. He's really good, but they keep giving him these other weight classes. Oh, Bellator, I don't like you very much.
Is this at light heavyweight?
I think it's at light heavyweight. He's fought as low as 170.
Wow.
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Joe Vampetto's a small guy. He fought Kendall Grove and looked like a baby, and he won. He won.
No, he lost to Grove.
Oh, he won. Oh, I thought he won. Was it a split? Maybe I'm wrong.
It was a
No,
unanimous.
unanimous.
Okay, I thought he did well. Okay, for that. But I mean, that was still a humongous man.
Yeah.
Okay, I was wrong. Sorry.
Have you looked at the line on that fight too? I mean, everyone knows it's a. I mean, it was a late replacement. Lowell was supposed to fight a guy out of Frankie Edgar's camp got hurt, and so they had to find Joe's coming in as a late replacement, so that's kind of why it's still lopsided. But still, I mean, this shouldn't have been sanctioned.
Yeah, this is Bellator being bad.
Chandler versus Brooks for the Bellator lightweight title.
Hold on a second now. I'm still on King Mo versus Joe Vitapo.
Okay.
Are you picking Vitapo? I'll pick Vitapo with you.
Shut up.
Now hear me out. I think there's going to be. It's just got that feeling.
Is he taking a chair in with him or something?
It's a little bit different than the Walt Harris feeling that I had a couple weeks ago. This one is like whenever I have this kind of feeling, it's a little bit more accurate. It's just there's a change in the ether. There's a shift about to take place. Something freaky is going down in this fight. I got Joe Vitapo, knockout round 1.
I'm taking that with him. I'm taking it with him because Vitapo has hands.
If not injury.
Yeah.
Has Vitapo just become this week's Walt Harris?
Yeah, Vitapo has hands. Don't sleep on those hands. He has power in those hands.
If Vitapo knocks King Mo out, I'll rename my cat.
Okay.
That's
Down for that.
You better name him Joe Vitapo.
Muhammad Alal's
You
gonna
can
come
name
up there
him.
and he's
You
gonna do
can
that.
name
Like,
him.
he's do that Mayweather thing. Y'all know what I'm talking. He's gonna do the Mayweather again, and I think Vitapo can land a bomb. He might get wrestled to death, even though he's a good wrestler. He's just a tinier one.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's Vitapo's strength is he's a good wrestler, but he's going up against a guy who's two weight classes ahead of him.
Yeah, he's a good wrestler, but he also has a big. He's got bigger power than Mo. I think if you were to just overhand rights, I think he's got more power. Mo,
not at this division.
Maybe. I don't know. King Mo doesn't knock people out, so I mean.
King Mo ground and pound round 1.
King Mo knocks people out. He's got power on top of you, but he doesn't have power. I don't see him knocking people out regularly.
I just wanted to chime in and mention that the last time that King Mo was a minus 1,100 was actually when he went up against Emmanuel Newton, who was a plus 975, and he knocked him out with a spinning back fist.
Yeah. Remind me.
And that's actually that's actually the second biggest betting upset in mixed martial arts history, and King Mo was a part of that.
I was about to say it's a big one.
Is number 1 Gonzaga?
No, number 1 is Sojiku and Little Nog.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, that's way back in like 2007.
Yeah.
I won on one of the biggest tennis underdogs. Just throwing that out there. Kyrgios over Nadal. Plus 1,400.
You might as well use Spanish when you talk about the way Americans do odds. It means nothing to me.
I know. What's it? 2.5 and stuff.
I can explain it real quick. It's super easy. Like, for example, if somebody's plus 200, that means if you bet $100 on them, you'll win your money back plus $200. Okay? And if somebody is, say, minus 200, that means that you have to bet $200 to win $100.
See, that's mental. It's well easier to just say 7-1. Because
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's way easier.
You get
I agree.
money.
I like both of them. But MMA sites don't offer the MMA. Was it best fight odds? They don't ever put the European version at all.
Yeah, it's always the money line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get them, so I just go. Meh.
They are a popular website. Surprise! Really, if anyone wants odds, that is the site to go to.
Yeah.
They're very good, and they record and archive every fight. So I like to go reference odds for articles. Great reference.
What do you guys think about Chandler Brooks too?
I think he's a good fighter. I'm not sure he's going to take this.
Well, I think Chandler's going to win this very one-sidedly.
Yeah, I definitely.
It'll be competitive. Don't get me wrong, but I think Chandler. There was just something up with Chandler last time. He didn't look himself. Everyone that knows Chandler had fought Chandler, or even his camp was Chandler said that there was something different going on this time, and it's not going to be the same fight. Brooks is good. He's a great fighter. Don't get me wrong, but he's just not on Chandler's level.
It was late replacement too, right? That was a short notice fight.
Yeah, and from what I understand, Chandler had a back injury going into the fight, and he didn't want to pull out of it because of the platform that the fight was presented on. So that probably was why he looked flat. And even though he looked flat, I thought he won that fight.
Yeah. I can see it arguably. We need more draws.
That's very true. And I'm on Chandler, too. I think Chandler will win as well. It is crazy, though. I just looked at it. I didn't realize Chandler's coming in on a 2-fight losing streak, technically.
Yeah, you could create the argument that he won both of those fights, funny enough.
Yeah, and I agree that he beat Brooks. The Alvarez was a very, very close fight. But, I think Chandler's coming in hopefully 100% this time, and I think he'll get the win.
Yeah. That was a weird fight. Late notice, new opponent, all that was very weird.
Anyone
Injuries.
picking Brooks?
If it's Brooks, it's going to be a decision. That's all I'm going to say. I think Chandler, if you saw the Sada Wad fight versus Brooks is still susceptible to the overhand right, left hand, or left hook. And Chandler can land that like everyone else, and he's got speed. Sada Wad had lots of speed, but I think if Chandler goes in there and just stops, just sprawls and brawls, he's going to... I think he's faster than Brooks by a decent amount. He's more compact and he's a better striker. And if he's on point, he should be able to knock him out. And Brooks has been knocked out, so I'm gonna go with that. Were you unanimous?
I think so.
I think so. This is actually another one of the fights that I have in my big money parlay. I do. It's the big money parlay is Dennis Bermudez, Michael Chandler, and Mike Richmond. And that pays, I'll do it European for you. It pays 1.5 to 1.
Yes, okay, yeah. So it's just slightly better than evens.
Yeah, so $10 gets you 15. So it's a good payoff for big favorites, I think.
Yeah. Is Chandler a huge favorite this time?
No, he's only -2, I believe 250, 270 actually.
Okay. I knew he would be a favorite. He had to be the favorite.
Yeah, and their first fight, it's actually the 4th biggest upset in mixed martial arts history, with Will Brooks being +800 and Michael Chandler being -1,000.
I know someone that parlayed Tito Ortiz and Will Brooks that night. I know.
Tremendous. Wow.
I did Clay Guida and whoever George Roop the night that Anthony Pettis got decisioned, and it was like 12 to 1 or 13 to 1. It was amazing. The most ridiculous upset that was not justifiable at all.
Do you guys want to talk about the Tito fight?
Yeah, let's reminisce about fights from 10 years ago. Am I being unfair?
Well,
it's about as relevant as it was.
I'd say like 6. I'd give you 6.
It's not relevant at all, but I mean, it's interesting seeing guys around the same age, sort of, that are at the same place in their career, being able to command as much money as they're probably being paid for this fight. I mean, I do think that's interesting. I do think that's kind of cool. This point for the light heavyweight division, it's absolutely meaningless. You know, like no one's going to move up or down in the rankings or their legacy. This is just a payday fight. And, I mean, all the power to them. You know what I mean? They got to get paid.
Yeah.
Has Tito not been claiming that once he wins this, he's going to go and take a tilt at the UFC light heavyweight title?
What? You said that?
No, I'm saying, has he not? Because I wouldn't put it past him to say something along those lines in the middle of a fight hype.
I don't want him to say that.
No, I don't think he said anything like that. This fight
completely misunderstood what I said.
I think so.
I understand. I don't want him to do that. That would be bad.
I mean, I don't think he said anything like outlandish like that. It wouldn't surprise me if they're trying to give him a little run at Emmanuel Newton for the Bellator 205. But you know what? This fight actually bums me out for a reason that Scott Coker came in, and I think everyone agrees that Scott Coker is going to right the ship for Bellator for the most part. And a lot of the matchups that he's put together so far have been very solid. I mean, you look at the rest of this card, and it's filled with...
But has he, though? Like, has he put together matchups, or is this just the trail end of, like, the Bjorn Rebney era? Like, has he set up fights, or is this the first fight card where he's actually involved?
I think that's a good point. I'm not sure that we could...
Yeah.
We could definitely guarantee who's set up what here.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I guess the thing that bugs me about it though is it seems in a very un-Scott Coker-like turn, they've turned the Tito versus Stefan into a total WWE promo, you know, with the whole theatrics and Justin McCauley with the mask on, and no one knows what's happening. It's a fiasco, and it bothers me that MMA on a large scale has to be subjected to meaningless fodder like that. So I hope they can get past this and they never do the theatrics like that again.
But doesn't Bellator have to resort to some sort of tactics along those lines, because it's picking in the lower pool end of talent, isn't it? I think what Bellator has to do is they have to look at the real young, bright up and comers and get them before the UFC gets them, which is difficult. And I think that's what it needs to do, is to be basically the first proving ground of a real... Can you imagine if John Jones had gone on like a 5 or 6 street tear in something along the lines of Bellator and then gone into the UFC? It's probably not going to improve his legacy any whatsoever, but I think that's where Bellator needs to position itself. So it's almost like a feeder club for the UFC. Because
I agree.
These fights, Ortiz and Bonner, are, like we said, they're irrelevant. Whereas if we was looking at 2 real good up-and-comers, a guy that can put a streak together, become the Bellator champion, and then you can almost, Conor McGregor-ish, follow his career through the UFC. Cage Warriors does a real good job at being a proving ground prior to people going on to the UFC. Bellator's got to do a similar thing, I think.
I just wanted to chime in about that. I just wanted to, while those are very good points, I do disagree. I think that setting yourself, if you're trying to be the number 2 promotion, which obviously Bellator is trying to do, setting yourself up as a feeder league for your competition, it's not really in your best interest, because you spend money and resources and hype and ads creating... but hyping a guy up and putting him in a position to be a face for your company. And how is it beneficial to then let that fighter go to your competition after you've invested X amount of like capital, which would be like money and investment dollars and TV time into that fighter? It's not beneficial at all. I think that what Bellator is doing with Tito Ortiz and Stephan Bonner is smart, because they're taking an already established commodity, which is both Tito Ortiz and Huntington Beach, Tito Ortiz and Stephan Bonner, and they're giving them the platform to bring eyeballs onto them. And it's really beneficial for Bellator to do that, where I think it's beneficial for them to take the UFC's castaways, if you will, but I don't think it's very smart for Bellator to give their established fighters to the UFC. Like, for example, like if Eddie Alvarez loses versus Benson Henderson coming up, doesn't their light heavyweight division kind of look like shit? Because that's their ex-champion, and they've now lost 2 fights in a row. You know what I mean? And kind of the same way when Hector Lombard came in and lost to Tim Boesch, like it makes the entire division, the entire league look like shit.
It does on one hand, but where do they realistically get parity? They're not really going to be...
They won't.
I'm just trying to think of an example off the top of my head. I can't really think of one. Let's pull Conor McGregor out of the featherweight division. Let's put him as the Bellator champion. He's going to clean out that division in Bellator in a year. And then what does he do? If they can get hold of him, he's coming from Cage Warriors, and these people go from Cage Warriors to Bellator. That's a legitimate career trajectory. But the UFC's cleaning up, because there's so many events that they're putting on. The UFC's cleaning up and has got such a stacked roster. There's no room for Bellator to have anybody really that's a top 5 fighter in any of the divisions, and maybe even top 10, arguably. So I don't know how Bellator tips that balance. There's
one way. Oh, go. You were talking.
No, go. All right, I was just going to say, yeah, I think, John brought up a fair point. I think that's a very fair point, because I think business-wise that is a smart decision, and I guess I was just trying to say I wish they would do it in a less comical manner, as the promos in the middle of the ring, like they're The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, But I totally understand them needing to be able to promote their established ex-UFC fighters as their main platform fighters. So.
And in turn, I think that people, you hear this term used a lot, but the casual fan, I think the casual fan tunes in to see Tito Ortiz and Stephan Bonner because they know who they are, but they stay because they watched Will Brooks and Chandler before that. That's what I think.
True. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. What was you going to say, Case?
I was going to say, if they want to really compete, I mean, I know they are clearly number 2 right now. If they really want to jump to that next level, they're just going to have to throw money. So much money, it's going to be ridiculous. They're owned by Viacom now. They have the money. Viacom just has to take a risk. Otherwise, they're either going to decline or stagnate. They won't. UFC, people talk about oversaturation, all this. It isn't just them just doing it to do it and people think they're losing money. They're doing it to basically kill Bellator. People think that was just, oh, they're doing it and fans are losing interest. Well, guess what? The only thing anyone's watching is the UFC. Bellator puts on 1/4 the events, and they might get one event out of those that is comparable to a fight night. They're not competing on any real level. They have to throw money at this. Real big money. I'm talking maybe billions. They're going to have to quadruple the pay of fighters to get them to come over because there's no prestige. There's no prestige in Bellator.
Get Nick and Nate Diaz over quite easily, I reckon.
I agree.
They'd have to pay him more. They'd have to pay him more. It'd have to be I know that you think that money would just keep them. I mean, the UFC, they're going to have to jump up a level, and we know that they stepped to the plate with Nick because Nick came back. He got pay-per-view points and probably over 500K based on what we've been hearing. I don't think Bellator is that's what I'm saying. Bellator has to commit to guys that aren't even going to challenge for a title that much money. Nick Diaz is a draw, but is he anywhere near a title right now? Not even remote. Not even remotely near one. And the thing is, Bellator has to take a risk and believe, and they're going to have to throw money at people. Like big money. And I mean, that's the only way. Otherwise, a place like Cage Warriors, which I think is a better run organization. Cage Warriors, in my opinion, is better run. Legacy is better run. RFA is better run.
Bama's gaining a bit of traction in the UK as well.
Oh, they're getting. I know that Cage Warriors is the one I watched. I know Bama's there, but I thought Cage Warriors was like the premier up there.
Yeah, Cage Warriors is the premier event in England. Definitely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And like Bellator, it's like you're watching a fish drown or something. Like I don't know, man. They want to like try and compete with like 1/3 of the dollars or whatever the amount is, and UFC's just laughing. It's just.
I thought you said Obama.
America.
But you did raise a really interesting point, a very valid point about there being less prestige in Bellator. You're absolutely right, there is. But and you mentioned taking a risk on somebody, but that raises the question, like, who do you take a risk on? Like,
you'd have to take a risk on everybody. I mean, they'd have to draw out the majority of a roster. Like, they'd have to take roster. I like the idea of getting them when they're young, but the reality is, the guys are going to be like, the UFC's I'm going to take a slightly less pay cut. You're going to have to pay them a lot more to take them from that prestige because they know in the end they can make more there. The top guys in the UFC make so much more money. I don't care what anyone says. The top guys in the UFC make googogs more money than anyone in Bellator. It's exponentially different. They're going to see that opportunity.
Prove themselves. Fighters want to be the best in the world. You're not going to be renowned best in the world by clearing out a Bellator division. You're only going to be renowned best in the world by
looking at Bellator's roster right now. They do have some young talent. I mean, it's not in abundance, but I mean Darian Caldwell, Brennan Halsey.
Sorry, Damon Green or whatever. That guy's gone.
Yeah, I know. Darian Caldwell, Brandon Halsey. Douglas Lima, Koreshkov. I mean, they just re-signed Paul Daly. So, I mean, there is talent. Yes, Tiger Sarnovsky. I mean, there's talent. Liam McGeary. There's definitely young talent there. I would love it if they could cultivate it, and, who knows if they'll be able to keep them there, or, when their contract runs out, if the UFC will be able to scoop them up. So,
I agree, but none of those guys, I think, are even remotely top 10, though. Like, if you brought them over... Douglas
Lima is top 10 for sure.
I disagree with that. I don't even think Ben Askren was, but everyone thinks I'm crazy. Till he beats anyone that's remotely crazy. I can be crazy. I thought he lost to Jay Haran back in 2011, I think it was. I thought that was a pretty clear win for Jay Haran.
That was a close fight, but that was a while ago.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. That was the only legitimate person I've seen him fight recently. Like, ever.
Russian. Korshkov?
I wouldn't
Is it
consider this guy
Korshkov?
even in the top 30.
Didn't he beat
That's-
Lima?
Who?
Askren? Didn't he beat
Yeah,
Lima?
Askren
Lima?
beat Lima.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But I mean, neither of those guys have been tested on the top stage. Lima's biggest fight is a loss to Ben Askren, or a loss to Matt Brown, whichever one you want to pick.
He's
is big.
also basically murdered Ben Saunders twice.
True.
Who is UFC? Yeah, the term UFC caliber, like it's
Yeah,
laughable.
but I don't know. I just can't consider any of these guys comparable till they've beaten anyone that's ever even been close to that rank. Yeah,
No,
I
I agree.
Can't justify
They're-
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're not, I don't
exactly.
think any of those guys are top 10 yet. I do think, I mean, they're most of those guys I mentioned are mid-20s. You know, some of them are a
Yeah.
little older, but I mean, they're talented, and I mean, what we're
They
seeing
could.
now is we're seeing a lot of older fighters really hitting their stride. I mean, how
Yeah.
old's Lombard? Lombard's what,
I'll check
37,
right now.
36? Yeah, so
He's-
but anyway,
he's in
I
the
mean,
30s.
dudes are scared to fight him. No one wants to fight him. He's terrifying. So,
But he
I
also
mean,
he had a good his athletic prime is coming in because he did judo, which is while it's hard on the body, it's not a brain damaging kind of sport really.
Verdum is 37, 38, Hunt's 40.
Oh god, yeah, that was crazy.
So
I totally agree. I'm saying these people have potential too, but Bellator's not using them right. They're not using them right at all. And they aren't able to prove themselves there. If they are remotely capable of that potential, they aren't being able to prove it there. That's what I was bringing back. They have to throw money at people to bring people to either beat them or prove the guys that they have. Because everyone else has a goal. All these other orgs have a goal. If you want to compete with UFC, you have to throw money, lots of money, and they're not doing it at all.
Is Bellator on free-to-air television in the States?
Yes.
yes.
So anybody can watch it. It's not pay-per-view. It's not.
Mm.
Although I think it is this weekend, I believe.
They can't do a pay-per-view.
Oh wait, no, this one's pay-per-view.
This one's
Is this
pay-per-view?
one pay-per-view?
I'll check.
I think so.
Hold on.
I could be completely off on that, but I thought it was.
It's 131, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll check.
Wow. I'm actually just taking a look at Ben Askren's record real quick here, and yeah, he hasn't fought like the best of the best, but he did fight Nick Thompson. He did fight Lyman Good, and I actually wrote a piece.
I wouldn't use Lyman Good as a good frame of reference. He got beat by a guy who was 3-1 in those.
Dude, that guy he's good. But
He
I
is
actually,
good. He is good. He's an All-American wrestler. I know that I've recognized, but I'm saying, come on, man.
Real quick,
Terry
These guys that are losing to like.
Bellator 131 is not a pay-per-view. It is on free TV.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Spike.
yeah, I just
Yeah,
wanted to
there's
say
more about it anyway.
before we move on, I just wanted to say, like, I wrote a piece for my website, and it was just about just the history of Ben Askren and his opponent's records. I did all the math, and if you count the Ryan Thomas win twice, because he fought him, his opposition, has a combined record of 200 wins, 48 losses, and 5 draws. So I mean, it's not like he's crushing cans. You know, he's fighting guys with winning records.
He's fighting guys that would get him into the UFC, but nothing that would remotely validate him a top 10 spot or a title shot, which blows my mind. Completely blows my mind that people think he deserves a title shot. It's
Yeah,
insane.
he does not deserve a title shot by any
Oh
means.
yeah, that's right. I'm asking for that.
Yeah, Ben Askren, I mean, this is totally off topic, but, like, it's just insanity that I hear people say he deserves it. I thought he lost to Jay Haran. We all know who Jay Haran is. If I'm not mistaken, he's retired, and when he came over, he was not exactly looking amazing, and I think that everything that happened to him would happen way worse to Ben Askren. His wrestling has not transferred over as well as most guys. His wrestling is funk wrestling, and if you know anything about that, it is not a explosive pressure forward wrestling that you see guys win with. It's not the Mendez style, you know what I mean? Chad Mendez. Like, he doesn't take you down, dominate you. He doesn't dominate a fight with deciding where it goes against other elite wrestlers. He's not going to be able to do that. A guy like Josh Koscheck is going to sprawl and brawl. That's all I'm getting at. He could beat maybe Carlos Condit if Condit can't defend it. But Rory McDonald, nope.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of
if you can defend
really
it
hard
quickly,
fights.
he's not going to get. I don't know. It's just upsetting to see. Like, that's what I'm saying. Bellator they can't prove anyone. They sent Jay Haran over from the UFC, and he arguably won that fight. It didn't validate Ben Askren whatsoever. And then he fought a couple other good guys, Lima, Lyman, and the French judoka who got TKO'd in like the 4th round.
No, you're right. He's beat a lot of mid-level guys who have decent records. He hasn't beat a top-level guy though. So
they're good, but people act like he beat GSP.
Yeah.
People are like he's gonna sit on GSP. Yeah, right. People beat someone. He has to beat someone that's like dominate a very elite person. Even Koscheck, who's on the end of his career, if he beat him, I would call for it. But I don't even see that. Koscheck's just I don't know what's. I hope Koscheck fights again. I don't know about that.
Yeah, but that being said, what if they match him up against Matt Brown? You don't think Askren beats Matt Brown?
I was very surprised how good Matt Brown's wrestling was against Robbie Lawler. Could I see Askren winning it by like just sitting on him? Yeah,
Of course.
I can see it. But I can see him sprawling out. He's so big. He's bigger than Askren by a large margin.
I can see a fight that makes me fall asleep.
It's going to turn into Matt Brown TKOing him or him getting sat on. I think Matt Brown's wrestling is underrated. His foot trips, his judo, and his sprawl is very underrated. As a wrestler, you can see it in a guy who he never wrestled, and he's taken it up through the years, and he's clearly improved. I wouldn't use Matt Brown as the non-wrestler that would get beat by Askren. The non-wrestler in that division would be Condit, that I can see Askren really beating, who's got I'd say would be the favorite. Matt Brown, I think, would still be a huge favorite over Askren.
I think Ben Askren would be able to beat Matt Brown before he could beat Carlos Condit.
Those two are valid, but let's say they put him against Johnny Hendricks. That would be the most one-sided fight in MMA history. That'd be bad. I don't care what anyone. Not okay. That's far. But Bellator to UFC, man, he would. Oh, he's not gonna get. He's gonna get sprawled on and hit with the most violent punches ever.
I think Askren beats Matt Brown, but I don't think he beats Hendricks.
I can see a Matt Brown win, but that would be. I'm the skeptic of Askren. I'm the skeptic. I'm the big skeptic, and I wrestled.
But he beat Bakhtiar Abbasov in the first round.
Yeah, that guy.
Argue with that.
So, are we moving on to World Series of Fighting and wrapping it up?
I like that.
Why the fuck not?
Okay.
I like World Series. Hey, did anyone know if Melvin got to cut again?
He had 2 hours to cut 3.8 pounds. I don't know if he did it.
From what I understand, he missed weight again, and because of that, he's being fined 50% of his purse, which raises the question, why the fuck even bother? If he pulled out right now, I wouldn't be mad at him. You know what I mean? Basically, because he missed weight, he's now fighting for half of the money, and I wouldn't blame him if he was like, yeah.
How much of that goes to JC?
Is it still a title fight?
No, it can't be.
Wanker.
Yeah.
No, it.
It's a catchweight
it
fight.
is still a title fight, though. I think is what WSOF is saying.
Wow, that's some B-level stuff right there. Because how can you have a title fight when when the challenger didn't make the weight? It's impossible because the fight's not taking place.
Sometimes have if the champion retains it and he made weight, he's still a title fight for him. But if he loses, he doesn't lose the belt. I'm sure I've heard that before.
Yeah, I like that.
So did anyone?
It's like Bagsy, no nickbacks or some shit.
Did anyone kind of pay attention to these weigh-ins? I was half-heartedly paying attention to them while I was at work, but I think I read that Kalindra Faria did not show up to the weigh-ins. Who's supposed to fight for the title against Jessica Aguilar due to contract disputes? Yeah. So WSOF signed her to fight this title fight, and she's still under contract with another organization. I think it's XFC, and they are now suing World Series of Fighting.
Oh, good God.
It's just a shit show.
Dude, that's just... Oh, I feel bad.
That sucks.
Where is it? Anyway, I'm not even sure where it is.
XFS?
It's in Tampa, Florida.
See, Florida is your neck of the woods, Cody. What happened?
Bingo, Bellator used to hit up the Hard Rock all the time here in Hollywood.
Yeah, so... so I guess back to the Gagey Gillard. I was on the Gillard train this whole time. I thought Melvin would go out and knock Gagey out because I was very surprised how many times Nick Newell actually hit Justin Gagey.
Yeah.
But now that Melvin missed weight, and I just think Gaethje's too solid of a wrestler. He's going to take Melvin down and beat him up.
Yeah, Melvin's going to be lying there thinking, I'm only getting paid half for this. I'm only getting paid half for this.
Yeah.
Every punch counts as 2.
I also got Gaethje.
Yep, Gaethje.
Gaethje.
I think the Gaethje's so hittable. He's so hittable, but he's so athletic. Oh my god, he's so athletic. That dude makes stuff up on the fly. Did he do like a cartwheel kick, like from like getting a single-legged? It was.
Is he more athletic than Melvin?
I think so.
Wow.
I think as far as accomplishments in a sport, and he started late from what I understand, the dude proved in wrestling he's more accomplished. I mean, that doesn't initially see, but if you watch him fight, oh my god. And Melvin's looks slower and slower. I mean, we know that he started out being that super explosive, violent wrestler, but watch his last 5 or 6 fights, that doesn't look the story of his career anymore. He's definitely slowed down, and I don't know why. He's young.
Well, he's got 50 fights or something like that.
Yeah, and like 5 or 10 that aren't even on the record that he talks about.
He was fighting in like a church basement when he was like 19.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying anything bad against him. I'm just saying that I think currently who's going to be the quicker, more explosive guy? I think Gaethje's more explosive. I think that purely if who can jolt out, I think it's him. He's done some insane things against not the greatest competition, of course, but Gillard hasn't looked exactly a shining star.
So is Farrier not fighting then? Have they sorted it, or are they going to be sued and let her fight, or do we not know?
I don't know. I can look it up really quick and see if there's been any more.
Well, while you do that, then we'll move on to Branch versus Okami. John, I think you was getting a bit giddy about this, wasn't you?
Oh yeah, I'm the president of the Yushin Okami fan club. The very first time I saw him fight, I thought to myself, wow, that guy looks like he could be a villain in like a Jet Li movie or something like that. And I've been a fan of his ever since.
Casual racism on the MMA Latest Hangout.
But I just wanted to say that even though he had a title shot against Anderson Silva, at this point in his career, it would be impossible for him to, not impossible, but it'd be very hard-pressed to see him win a title in the UFC. I'm pretty happy that he's been given a favorable matchup. Like, this is a very, very winnable fight for Okami. Yeah, I see him as the future World Series of Fighting champion. And, I mean, they don't have anybody on their roster that could beat him other than one punching him or something like that, catching him on the chin. He is getting chinny. But I like this fight. I'm excited for this fight, believe it or not. I think it's kind of cool that they're giving the Yushin Okami the main event spot opposed to just the Gaethje fight, which is obviously going to be a much better fight than the Branch Okami fight. Like, let's be real, like this fight, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be a lot of fence pushing, a lot of grappling, a lot of maybe not even scrambles. Like, it could just be Okami getting the fight where he wants it and riding it out for 5 rounds.
Yeah, Branch could win. He could pull it off. He's not bad. This guy, it's not like Branch is a scrub.
Yeah,
he's very elite. He just, his wrestling definitely his weakness, and that's definitely Okami's strength. So it's
Yeah, I just think where Branch is good at, Okami's better. So it's really tough for him.
The strike, I'd give Branch an edge striking. I'd give him a slight edge on technical striking, but other than that, I think that Okami's better everywhere.
I wouldn't, and that's only because what's fresh in my mind is that fight a few years ago when he just absolutely outboxed Lucio Linares. Like, do you remember that? He just put on a clinic.
He did. You're right. But I mean, that was a long time ago. That was
so that was a long time ago. So he's obviously gotten better since then. And if he can open up like that, like, he just doesn't open up. And in that fight, he did open up. If he opens up like that and throws more combinations, man, like, he's gonna light him up on the feet, and he won't need to go for grappling. Yeah,
I think he's gotten better, but I also think he's at the end of his career. I honestly think we're seeing the end of Okami. The next 3 years will be his last.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I just don't see him pushing through that much more. I mean, unless he gets back to the UFC and gets into the top 10, I don't see much more motivation for him.
And that's not happening.
Well, what about Dave? I mean, Dave Branch is no spring chicken. I mean, how old's Branch?
He's in his 30s for sure.
They're only a year apart. Branch is 32. Okami's 33.
Yeah.
So
He's
I mean,
younger than most people think, I think, but they're
Yeah.
both towards. I don't see Okami going to like 40. I don't see that.
no, I agree. Branch has a huge reach advantage, but I think Okami. I agree that they're technical striking. Actually, I think Okami dictates where this fight goes. I think he's a better grappler. I think he's stronger. I think he's a better striker. I think Okami wins this fight. I think it's a dominant decision for Okami.
Agreed.
Are we unanimous again?
Yeah, another unanimous one, I think.
The odds are
Hold
really
on.
messed up.
We're
Hold
going
on
to be
now.
terrible when we get all of these wrong tomorrow morning.
Hold on a second.
Right, man.
Sunday morning.
I never. Wait. Oh.
So the latest I can find on the Aguilar Faria fight is, I mean, she did not show up for the weigh-in, so that's definite. So I don't see how they can let her fight if she didn't show up to weigh in.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so apparently XFC is the name of the company that she's under contract with.
I thought XFC was gone.
Yeah, so she just didn't show up.
When's the last time you saw a show from XFC? Years on like what Access, AXS?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to stop you right there. I got Dave Branch by split decision over Yushin Okami. You remember that dream that I was talking about? This is not Walt. This is not the same as Walt Harris. This was different. This is
It is not the same as well.
some sort of faint intuition, or just to be that guy. This was a dream that I had last night.
Definitely.
Every
said
dream
that.
that I've had about MMA fights have been completely wrong.
Definitely
But counted
said that.
on it this time.
Definitely said that last weekend.
No, I didn't.
Shoot up. You was like, well, Harris is going to smash him first round knockout.
Yeah, but
It's on
that's
video. You can't deny it.
That's different. I'm just saying, look out for David Branch and look out for that other guy who I picked earlier that's probably going to get smashed.
Vedipo!
Venipro. Venipro? Was that?
Joe Vedipo.
I think that's a drug, actually.
That's a parlay right
I
there.
think
That's a
Jordan's
parlay.
that's going to be called
Vedipo.
for Sunday.
I think since
is
you're
that?
the only person online that picked Vitapo, you have to give his eulogy at the funeral after King Mo murders him
I
tonight.
will. I picked him
Natural
too.
colon health. That's what Venipro is. Oh no, it's for hemorrhoid. Okay.
Yes.
Vitapro. That's Vitapro. Vitado. Vitado is what we meant.
Right, gentlemen, I think we've run a course. I'm all out of
The
beer.
V-man.
I've been waiting for this to wrap up so I can go grab myself a beer.
So on that note, thank you very much. Thank you for watching the MMA Latest Hangout. Make sure you check out all the news on our website. We aim to try and get out about 10 articles a day on everything MMA. We don't just cover the UFC and Bellator and the big events. We cover the local shows near you. We've had some good success doing that, and there's a lot more coming before Christmas, so keep an eye on that. Make sure you subscribe. If you're watching the video, how else are you doing it? I don't know. So hit subscribe. Make sure you hit like. Leave a comment, because that sort of shit shares it with your network, and that's how we get bigger, and that's how we get more people seeing it, and then more people abusing us in the comments. So thank you for watching from me and all the boys. This will be every Friday night. We do the weigh-ins. One of us is normally pretty drunk. So join us. I think we've got a fight companion for UFC 180 tomorrow going out. Not sure who's running that. And then on Sunday we've got an MMA after hours one, which is going to get deep and probably get me done for libel in some way. But, whatever. Till next week. See you later.